Okay, you guys, I think we need to start questioning the spirit world. And I think we need to start questioning our relationship with spirituality, religion, all of those things, mindfulness, all of that. Okay? Where did this idea that surrender when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to spirit, when it comes to the divine, when it comes to God, when it comes to whatever you believe in, when it comes to the universe, why is it that when it comes to our relationship with a higher power, it is that we are to surrender, it is that we are to accept, it is that we are to listen, it is that we are to surrender? Where does this hierarchy of power come from? Has anyone else felt like prayers have not been answered? Their expectations have not come true. Hope has been deferred one too many times. Okay? And there's always this thing of divine timing. It's divine timing. Does anyone else feel like divine timing is starting to feel like a cover-up for the fact that things aren't coming through because something is off, something is wrong? I feel like, and I was talking about this morning in today's daily energy reading, and I felt like this since I had my spiritual awakening. I've always had a relationship with religion and spirituality because I grew up in a religious family, and I've always believed in something beyond just this earth. But when I had my spiritual awakening, this concept came to mind around needing to go to spiritual court. And it was always for different things. Different things as time went on, I would be like, this needs to go to spiritual court. That's where my spiritual awakening led me. I always had a relationship with spirituality, but I started to think about the injustice. And I'm realizing that was kind of a pinnacle of that's kind of the defining aspect of my awakening. My awakening surrounds injustice spiritually. And at the time that I went through my awakening, I had just been through an incredible injustice in my own life. I had, trigger warning, been assaulted. So I was dealing with that. But I'm saying all of this to you because I feel like it's time for us to stop accepting and stop being so grateful for a reality and a relationship with the spirit world that doesn't actually feel very balanced at all. Gratitude is this thing that is kind of weaponized against souls, against the incarnating beings, to make us always have to be grateful, even when what you're supposed to be grateful for isn't a part of your life. All these manifestation teachers are like, the reason why your manifestation hasn't arrived is because you're not believing that it's already here. You need to act as if, be grateful for it, even though it's not here yet, because then it'll be here. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. The way that these people are all able to gain their dream life is this pyramid scheme of manifestation, of selling people this dream. They're all selling the same dream, reading the same script. Something's off, okay? It should not be taking decades for people to receive their dreams, to have their prayers answered. It shouldn't take years. It shouldn't take this long. Human beings are only alive for a set amount of time, and even that is questionable because anyone can do anything, and the earth can have anything happen to shorten that lifetime. So timing is incredibly important. Time is probably one of the most important parts of being alive down here when it comes to receiving from the spiritual world. Time has to be considered. Time is incredibly relevant because if we don't consider the timing, then, oh yeah, it could take your whole lifetime to have something that is truly meaningful to you manifest. Why shouldn't you be living out your dreams from the very beginning? What is the point? To suffer until your dreams come to fruition? Why? Why are we supposed to just sit here and struggle and suffer and wait for things? Why do we have to be that patient? Why? Why should I just surrender to divine will? What does that even mean? There is a certain level of impartiality, indifference that my sister said, that spirit or the universe or God has to have, right? Because if the universe were to truly move mountains to make sure that you can receive all the things that you're supposed to receive, that would fuck up our reality, and it would make everybody go insane, because there is a certain structure and frame that you have to work within to make it make sense to be alive down here. Things do have to make sense, okay? So they can't literally pick up mountains and move them to other places and do all these things to remove. There has to be a distance. There has to be a distance. But there are ways that we can connect to the spirit world that are closer to us, like speaking directly to your soul. Instead of always speaking to God or speaking to spirit or speaking to the universe, you can speak directly to your soul. That's closer. There's less room for manipulation. There's less room for infiltration in terms of, oh, I'm sending a prayer up to spirit. Spirit hears that prayer, maybe answers it. It takes a long time. There's a lot of things that it has to go through before it gets down to you. There's a lot of realms of difference between you and spirit, between you and God, between you and the universe. There's some room there. Between you and your higher self, between you and your soul, not a whole lot of room. Less room for manipulation. I think that there are powerful spirits who are just like us, just other souls, powerful souls who have recognized that the spirit world is not something that you just have to surrender to, but something that you have a hand in, that you control, that you play a role in, something that can be molded, shifted, shaped to fit whatever you desire. And I think that these powerful spirits, powerful souls, but souls nonetheless, just like the rest of us, have devised a system around spirituality where the motto is to surrender, where the motto is to accept, where the motto is divine will, let it be God's will, where the motto is divine timing, God's timing, and you just accept that. You don't ask any questions, and you're always grateful. No matter what happens, you're always grateful. And if you have all of this gratitude for things that you're not receiving, and you're doing the work continuously and not being fed and not being satisfied, but you have to be grateful or else you're somehow morally inferior, morally wrong, morally inept. You have to have all this gratitude or there's something wrong with you spiritually. All that gratitude that's misplaced, that actually doesn't have a home, fills in the gaps of what you're actually supposed to be receiving. I think it's time for us to admit that we are spiritually dissatisfied and sit in that. What about all of these laws, as above, so below? Okay, well, what's happening here on earth is that everybody is depressed and sad, and most people aren't following their dreams, and most people need help, but they're not receiving help, and most people are just struggling to make it through. So, as above, so below. Is that what's happening spiritually as well? Is that what's happening in the spirit world? Are we dissatisfied spiritually? Are we acknowledging that? Let's acknowledge it. Let's talk about it. The only way revolutions happen is when people are angry enough, dissatisfied enough, fed up enough to do something about it. We need to start saying the truth. The truth is, I'm not super grateful. Why? Because I have not received. In the way that I have given, in the work that I have done, I have not received. Am I grateful to have a roof over my head? Absolutely. Am I grateful for my health? Absolutely. Am I grateful for my family and my friends? Absolutely. Am I grateful for the food on my plate? Absolutely. But the work that I have done, have I received? No. Let's acknowledge that. So what is there to be grateful for? I'm grateful for the things that I'm grateful for that I have. But why would I be grateful for something I don't have? That doesn't make sense. And why should you be required to be? And all of this, do the work. All this spiritual labor. Unpaid labor. Why are we accepting this? It just doesn't make sense. I think we need to ask more questions. I think we need to question this. And then, well, something happened in your past life. So down here, we have generational wealth, right? There are people who don't have to do anything because their late ancestors did all the work for them. Okay. And we all recognize where that's a problem. I got cut off, but I was talking about generational wealth. So generational wealth down here, we have people who are living incredibly financially lucky lives, settled lives, happy lives, because their ancestors did things to provide for them. Cool. We recognize in many ways where that privilege is abused, right? Because those people then get opportunities and get into spaces that they don't really need to be in, they don't deserve to be in, they haven't earned anything. In the arts, especially, we see that being abused in the arts. It's actually where it's mostly abused. Now, we see in this life, somebody can be incredibly kind, incredibly gracious, can be incredibly giving, can do the most for everybody else and still try to balance out for themselves and be super mindful and all of these things, be super intentional and never receive. And never receive. And we can read their birth charts and we can blame it on, oh, well, you had this past life karma and blah, 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 blah. So we're always paying for the sins of our past. Why? That doesn't make sense. And that doesn't even make sense because some of these families who got the generational wealth that they have, the things, the karma, the bad karma they acquired during their lifetimes because of the shit they had to do to get that wealth. So shouldn't that be reflected in their lives now? But it's not. Something's off. Something's not working. Something's not clicking. We all know there's a problem. We all feel like I'm supposed to be doing something more. I'm supposed to be receiving something more. This isn't right. This isn't right. And yet, oh, but you have to surrender and you have to trust. Trust what? Trust who? Trust God? Trust Spirit? I do trust. I trust Spirit. Okay, but now what? Right? Because Spirit can only do so much. Because Spirit has decided to be impartial at some point because you have to be. Because we need a framework. Because we have brains that need logic. And so Spirit can't literally break apart the sky to give you exactly what you need. That can't happen. The sky is not going to crack open and the hand of God is not going to come down and give you exactly what you need. If that happens, I'll eat my words. Okay, I'll eat my words if that happens. But that's not going to happen because Spirit would like us to all remain sane. Spirit would like us to not go crazy, which is exactly what would happen if we saw that happen. Okay? We need a framework to build within. Our ancestors have done so much work, have dedicated and invested so much time into this structure of reality. That's not going to be thrown away just so that you can have it proven to you that Spirit is on your side. Spirit's on your side in one way or another. Spirit's on the side of life going on. Okay? But we have a say in the way that our relationship with spirituality works. And we need to go to court. We need to advocate for ourselves. We need to speak up. We need to take a lawsuit against the spirit world. I don't know what powers these are. I don't know who these souls are that have decided to create this system. But things aren't clicking. People feel spiritually dissatisfied. If you feel dissatisfied, we've acknowledged here down on earth that if all these people are dissatisfied, it can't just be the people's fault. There's something wrong with the system. Why doesn't that follow through for the planet? Why doesn't that follow through for the spiritual world? If I'm so spiritually dissatisfied, it can't possibly always be my fault. It can't possibly be that I always need to do more spiritual work, that I need to pull myself up by my bootstraps spiritually. That can't always be the answer. At some point, if we're all so dissatisfied, if all of us have these dreams that are not coming true, if all of us keep experiencing hope deferred, something's wrong, something's broken. The spirit world, the spiritual world system that we work within is broken, and it needs to be confronted. And we need to go to court about it. You're not going to receive your court date and be called into court. We have to bring the case to the court system. We have to charge someone. Who are we going to charge? We have to accuse. We have to stand up for ourselves. The people need to stand up for ourselves. The people need to fight back. Spiritually, I'm not satisfied. I'm not grateful. And I'm not going to be made to feel bad about that and bad about myself and feel like I need to just accept and surrender. Divine timing, I'm considering that a cover-up at this point. And I'm not saying that readers on here are lying or anything like that, because I'm a tarot reader. And when I read the energy, I see what I see. I'm not lying to you. But I also have seen repeated storylines, repeated messages come up again and again, and the story is never ending. It's always that this thing is coming, but it never comes. It never arrives. It never plants its feet. Why? What's happening? What's stopping it from arriving? There's a manipulation happening in the spirit realm. Somewhere close to this realm, close to the 3D, there is manipulation happening so that people are not receiving, so that you're stuck in this cycle of sensing that something is coming but never able to actually receive it. There's a problem here. We're in a cycle. We're trapped. And we need to speak up about it, because none of us acknowledging it and feeling like we can just be the ones to push through and make it happen for ourselves, that doesn't work, and we know that. Because we've done that here on this planet. We've had revolutions. We know it can't just happen on an individual level. The collective has to come together, acknowledge that something is wrong, and refuse to be a part of the system anymore. Refuse to be satisfied with your circumstances. Refuse to be grateful for your reality. Fight back and say you want more for yourself. And not say, oh, okay, I want more for myself. Well, I have to do it and I have to do it on my own. No, it is if we are being told that we must live in a system, then the system also needs to do the work. It's not just on the people, right? These governments want to be our governments. You want to lead us. You want to have this system. Then you need to work. You need to make sense. We want this spiritual system. We want this spiritual framework. The framework needs to make sense. It needs to work for us just as much as we work for it. It needs to be a balanced relationship. All of this talk about doing the work. A lot of people are doing the work and they're not receiving. They're not receiving and they're doing the work. It's starting to give forced spiritual labor. It's starting to give, it's unjust. It's not just. There's no justice. What do you have to be grateful for? There's no justice. We need to acknowledge that. We're being failed. Are you spiritually dissatisfied? Say that. I'm not going to judge you for it. In fact, I agree with you. I'm spiritually dissatisfied. My manifestations are not coming true. My prayers are not being answered. I'm ready to speak up about it. Are you? Ambition is a powerful thing. And the people who can really make it happen for themselves, they're powerful to be able to do that. But that's not always how it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be that you always have to make everything happen for yourself and then you give all the thanks to the spirit world. Or like, I give it to God, even though you did that all yourself. You did that yourself. You made that happen. There is a disconnect. There's a disconnect. When was the last time you saw a true miracle, a true blessing? When we see it, it's like incredible because it doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often anymore. There's a reason why. There's something off. There's something wrong. There's something going on. Let's talk about it. Let's stop pretending like it's all our fault and we all just need to pray more and connect more. There's something wrong with the system. I'm dissatisfied. I'm not grateful. I'm grateful for the things that I'm grateful for, but I'm not grateful for things that haven't come yet. Why would I be grateful for that? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not grateful. I'm dissatisfied. And it's my dissatisfaction that's going to move me into a different place. That's a spirit. Gratitude, you're happy with what's happening here. You're settled. No. Faith is a sacred thing. Faith is a precious thing. And something is toying with our faith. It's toying with our hope. We need to fight back against that. We need to not accept things for what they are and just surrender. Surrender to what? I just think we need to start asking questions. And I encourage readers to tell me what you think. What have you been experiencing? You see all these storylines. You see all these things. You see all these great things. But does anything ever actually happen? As a reader, I can tell you I see the hope, I see the beauty, I see the abundance. But it just keeps coming around. It never grounds itself. I think it's time to get spiritually political, okay? I think it's time to recognize that we have a say in the way that the spirit world works, in the way that the spiritual systems that we work within work, okay? I think it's time to acknowledge that we have a hand to play, that we have power, that we're not just supposed to sit here and surrender. I think that that's a motto that has been created. That's something that's been created. That's an idea that was created. And it's a powerful spell. It's a powerful one. That you must always be grateful and you must always surrender. And it's always above you. Yes, there are unknowns. Yes, there are things you cannot see. But they're unknown and you can't see them. So we don't know what it is. Okay? But there are things that you can sense. There are things that you can pick up on. So it's not a part of the unknown. If you can sense it, it's not unknown. The unknown is the unknown because we don't know about it. Okay? But you can feel that something is off. You can feel that you're supposed to be receiving something. So it's not a part of this mystical illusion or this mystical elusive thing that you'll never be able to understand. Clearly, there's something that you're supposed to understand that you're not understanding. Why? Not because you're not trying, not because you're not working hard enough, because there's something else going on. And we all feel that way. We all know that something's been manipulated. We all know that the full truth is not being heard. Let's actually talk about it instead of pretending like everything is all good and I just need to pray more. Give me a break. I talk to Spirit a lot. Spirit's high up. Spirit is high and far away. There's a distance between me and Spirit. Spirit's in my heart, in a deep, deep part. Okay? Maybe you need to start speaking to your higher self. Maybe you need to start speaking to your soul. Maybe you need to start speaking to your inner self. Maybe you need to start speaking to your inner child. Maybe you need to start speaking to the immediate past life. Something closer to you, where there's less room for infiltration and manipulation. Okay? What happens if we start to question whether how influential this all-knowing, can do all image of God is? How helpful that is? How helpful is it? Okay? Is it super helpful? Just because one can do all, will they do all? Because what happens if they do all? What happens if they completely disrupt and move mountains to make sure that you can get your blessing? Can that really happen? Is that able to really happen? I think we need to start questioning the power and the influence and the impact we give these systems. I think we need to start questioning why we're made to feel so guilty when we ask questions, when we feel dissatisfied. In tarot, the cards of dissatisfaction, 4 of Cups, 8 of Swords, 9 of Swords. And the answer almost always is get over it. And the answer almost always leads to a bit of shame within the self and a lecture from the reader. I've done it myself. That feels weird. That doesn't make sense. That feels wrong. It feels like punishing someone for reacting to their environment, which just doesn't make any sense, if you ask me. And yeah, gratitude does make you feel better a lot of the time. It does. But just because it makes you feel better doesn't mean it's actually right. All this excessive gratitude. It's probably more natural, more honest to feel depressed, right? To feel what you actually truly feel. Your life sucks, your dreams aren't coming true, you're probably going to feel depressed. You should probably feel that way instead of trying to avoid it and fill it Fill the space with gratitude. What does that even mean? That gratitude is meaningless. It's powerless. It just fills space. Gratitude takes up space. And when it doesn't have anything to back it, it has no foundation, it's just being pulled out of thin air, it loses its power. Okay? There's a manipulation of gratitude. There's a manipulation of faith, of hope. There's manipulation happening. And I just think it's time we talk about it. I think it's time we get political in the spiritual realm. The people, the souls, we deserve more. Let's fight for it. Let's acknowledge that. Stop feeling shame. I'm not satisfied. If you're not satisfied, let's do something about it by talking about it, saying it. Words are power. We all know that. Let's talk about how unsatisfied we are spiritually. Imagine, what would that do if we all acknowledge it? And readers, tarot readers, spiritual teachers, be honest. What are you picking up on? What are you sensing? What cycles do you see? What injustice do you see happening again and again? How much pressure do you feel to keep the faith for people? To help people remain tethered to a reality of hope in this life, knowing they experience so much disappointment. Talk about how hard it is. Share your opinions. It's hard. I see the blessings. I see the divine intervention from Spirit. And then I see it again and again with no grounding. The cycle just continues. You ask for something, it's answered. But it never actually makes it to you. Why? Something is stopping it from making it to you. There's infiltration, okay? Spiritually. We need to talk about it. We need to stop pretending to be satisfied. You're not satisfied? If you're not satisfied and you're not grateful, I don't judge you. You have every right to feel that way. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.